Well, Hesham Al-Sayed works for PennyAppeal. That's a charity which provides medical aid and emergency food in the Middle East and Africa, and he's just returned from Cairo. Hesham, thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. Firstly, I know you were listening to that interview from the Israeli spokesperson there. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you for having me on the show. I just wanted to go back on that. You mentioned that obviously anyone displaced is not right, but we go back to now the amount of people that are displaced in Gaza, especially now in the Rafah governorate because of the bombings that have been happening in the south. You have a place now in the Rafah governorate which is basically desert, that people have been displaced. There's 1.2 million people living in a place that can probably house at most 200,000 people in an area the size of Heathrow Airport. So can you imagine 1.2 million people in the size of Heathrow Airport living on top of each other with no irrigation, no water supplies, nothing, no basic essential needs for a human being like myself to survive. You know, we're looking here forward to Christmas in the warmth of our own homes, and they have no warmth, they have no shelter or hardly any. And we're trying to provide that for them. But it's the numbers are harrowing. Also, I'd like to add, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, just mentioned that four out of the 5 of the hungriest people anywhere in the world are now in Gaza.
Yeah, sobering, and we're hearing the warning that there could be a famine as well because of the inability to get aid, particularly essential food items, into Gaza. You've just come back from Cairo. I presume, Hesham, you've been dealing with getting some aid across the Rafah border. Tell us more about that.
So aid is getting in. It's trickling in. It's not enough. It's hardly enough. So the numbers, the figures we're getting since the start of the war, the average is roughly 100 trucks a day entering Gaza. Now, if you talk about 100 trucks a day for a population the size of Birmingham, Manchester, and Liverpool put together, on a normal day, those cities wouldn't survive on 100 trucks. But before the war, there were about 300 trucks going in, and people were just hardly getting by on that. So 100 trucks a day, we should be sort of 10 times that at the moment, and it's just the difficulties of getting aid in has been hard, to say the least.
And since you have a first-hand perspective on this, what is the priority in terms of loading things onto those aid trucks? Because when we speak to aid agencies day after day here on BBC News, the list of needs is just huge. It's power, it's fuel, it's clean water, and of course it's food, as we've discussed. So what are you loading on as a priority at the moment?
Well, our priority is food, non-food, so shelter items. We are now providing tents and heavy blankets for the winter in Gaza. As you can see, there is rainfall, so we are providing tents. In terms of food, we make sure that the food hasn't expired a minimum of 1 year, maybe possibly between 1 and 2 years, just for the length of time, maybe, and also to ensure that the food is distributed in a timely manner, as well, taking in any delays with trucks getting across the border. So we've got food, we've got shelter, and also some medical consumables as well, medical items.
OK, Hesham Al-Sayed from the PennyAppeal, thank you very much for sharing that update for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.